If the first game breaks, we'll get you to let up, put on more steam. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, our ball game. All obstacles, block, cut, sides, do the games after this win. First year again, we're here for the first May. Can't fight you never 6 minutes.
Rocky Top, you'll always be.
Unbelievable place. Great university. Knoxville's unbelievable city. Great people. The passion for football is even greater than I thought it would be. And man, Neyland Stadium, I said it, a couple of years ago, and I still think it's the best football experience for a college football fan or a player in the country.
The culture that Hype and everyone has created in this building, it's been phenomenal on teams, and we're only going to continue to be better. And the standard around here, I've said it before, I'll say it again, standards to be the damn best. And we're never stopping.
With Texas coming into the league now, which school has the real claim to being able to call itself UT?
There's only one real UT. One right shade of orange.
Just making sure that the little things are taken care of, like getting our cleats in the dirt and just playing.
What we have to do is make sure that we got our cleats in the ground before the ball is snapped. I think that's the key to the game, and make sure that
just get our cleats in the ground, execute calls, the urgency of communicating and getting lined up.
Yeah, you got to get your cleats in the ground and you got to go play.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley.
And I'm Coach Jay.
I'm Dauber.
I'm X Factor.
And we had some serious lag going on there. Was that lag on me?
Yeah,
or was
we
that
did.
On Coach Jay? Well,
I don't know.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Hey, it's week one, right? It's week one. There's going to be some sloppy things you got to clean up going into week two. And that's what we saw today. A little bit of sloppy, but that's fine. Tennessee took care of business 49-13. Some good, some bad, some ugly. We're going to criticize it all. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So don't freak out. Don't get mad if we criticize, if we talk about some sloppy football. We're just giving our opinions, but a lot of good things to talk about too. We had a Nico sighting. How about that defensive line unit? I know it's Virginia, but still you got to be excited. We're going to get into it. We're going to break it all down. We're going to get your comments, but do us a favor. Come on in here, smash the thumbs up, share out the link. I know it's the first week of the year. Let people know that Talkin VAWLS is live. Come hang out for the post-game show. We're going to be doing this every single week. Let's run down the chat. Let's see who's hanging out here on this post-game show. Ron the Don is in the house. What's up, brother? Seth is here. I don't believe it, but Colorado is about to pull this off. How about that storyline? Everybody down on Dion. Going to go get a big win in week one. Bob King is here. Be listening, but quiet. Got to go get some grub. JT Max is in the house. Ball fan for life is here. Wes Marshall's in the house. Keaton dropped pass early for TD. Won't happen again. He's pissed. I could see it. Yeah, we're going to talk about that again. It's week 1. We'll see. We'll clean things up. Joshua is here. Appalachian Adventures is in the house. Let me get a couple of super chats real quick. Culberson at 44 for $5 says he stood 6'5" and weighed 245, kind of broad at the shoulder, narrow at the hip, and everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big Joe, Big Bad Joe. Culberson dropped this super chat right after Joe Milton made a poor linebacker look like a child. Thank you, Culberson.
Like a
for the
rag
super chat.
doll.
Noah James for $2. Appreciate that. GBO, damn, I love this team. It's great to be a Vol. Jody Wooten for $2. Appreciate the super chat. Very happy with this game. VFL Willie for $2. Defense stood up. Shout out D Samp. We're going to get into all that, man. Really, really happy with the defensive effort today. Parker Townsend for $5. Anybody else see Omari come back out? Hoping he isn't hurt too bad. That's the thing, man. When you're watching it on TV, it's hard to really know. Omari Thomas never came back out in the game, did he?
I don't think he.
No, but why would he? Why would he?
Sure.
Why would Squirrel come back out either? It wouldn't
Right.
make any sense if I'm coach.
I saw somebody in the media tweeted out that Squirrel actually jogged off the field after he got hurt. So
yeah.
You got to think that he's good. I've not seen a report on Omari. That's the thing about these post-game shows. It's right after the game's over, so we don't always have an injury update. Knoxville Predator catcher for $10. Thank you for the super chat. Not sure if I'm happier with the running backs or the defense. Pierce is going to be a problem for a lot of quarterbacks. Thank you, Knoxville Predator catcher. Appreciate that super chat. Coach, we'll let you kick things off here. What stood out to you? What's your takeaway coming out of game 1 against Virginia? Again, Tennessee took care of business, but what's your takeaway?
I mean, there's a couple, right? Number one is that, and I will toot my own horn a little. I've been talking about in the weeks leading up that cheetah package with Lott and Barron inside and Pierce on the edge. It's going to be a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem for other teams to deal with that, especially when you flip Josephs to that other end and he can play hybrid in the linebacker against the pass. He can either show or go off that blitz in that cheetah package. It's a real problem, and we all knew Pierce was a burner, a super fast defensive end, and you certainly saw it. That tackle could barely lay hands on him when he was coming around that edge. So just awesome job there. Omari Thomas was an absolute force to be reckoned with in the inside. The punt team, man, the punter in particular, he did have a good punt at the end, but I thought he looked bad, was holding on to the ball too long. And I kind of get it with the rugby style. You want to keep the defense and hold them in place, but I thought he was just holding the ball a little too long and maybe coming off his foot a little adversely as such. Those are kind of my big overall arching notes. It was super vanilla. We didn't really throw the ball deep, but really once, like a true deep ball. Just a lot of vanilla like we were expecting. And that turf, man, am I happy to be off that turf. I couldn't get off that field quick enough if I were a coach. That was some coconut, not knees to nuts turf they were dealing with.
Yeah. I guess I'll go ahead and go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I say overall, it's like what I tweeted out earlier when I was watching the game. Really, really strong defensive presence, like I've been, predicting, the past couple of shows. I'm really, really happy about that we showed a very strong defensive presence, especially in the beginning when we were, 7-0. And it's like what I was just saying. I was like, I think our defense is not going to really carry the game for us, but in that first half, I mean, they pretty much did. They kind of took some of the pressure off of our offense just a little bit, just so that the offense can kind of get into stride, get into tempo a little bit. Now switching over to the offensive side, Joe actually looked pretty solid. There were a couple of throws that he was just right on target, and just some of the receivers couldn't catch, like like the one deep ball he did have for Ramel. That wasn't really all Joe. That was just Ramel. Like I say, it was just a few yards, maybe a couple of inches, just ahead of Ramel, just a little bit. But,
should have been 6.
It should have been 6, but, it is what it is. But no, I don't think it was just Joe's fault on that one. Just a little miscommunication on that. Now the running back game, I say Dylan Sampson, man, star of the show today. He definitely 4 touchdowns for the whole entire game, dude. Like I said, really good. I think, like I said earlier too, I think your 1-2 punch is definitely going to be Jalen Wright, Dylan Sampson for your 1-2 punch. No disrespect to, like I said, Jabari Smalls. Small made a few plays as well, but I think your 1-2 punch is definitely going to be Dylan Sampson and Jalen Wright. But overall, man, just like I said, solid defensive play. Offense started out a little slow, but overall, I think it was a pretty solid win.
Week 1, some good things,
first
some
down,
bad things. At one point early in the first, we should have been up 3 scores at least, and we had 7 points on the board. Didn't have a lot of miscues in terms of penalties. We had one penalty that backed us up, and then Joe got sacked on a 3rd down. That was kind of a drive staller. But I mean, overall, pretty pleased with how they played. I think we were all pretty close predicting the score. Somebody got it exactly right.
Someone. Who was that again, Dauber?
Who
was that again?
This guy right here. But no, my one complaint, I'll kind of echo Coach Jay, is special teams a little bit. The punting. I'd written down bad punts, and it was just a case of maybe he's trying to do too much, holding on to the ball too long, that rugby style, and shanked a couple. I think one was like a 16-yard punt, and then had another go off the side of his foot. And then D. Williams coughing one up, although he made up for it with the couple big returns he had.
He was playing fast. Yeah, he was playing super fast.
But when you go down, you got to protect that ball, though. You got to protect it.
Yeah, go ahead, though, Doctor.
That's one of those things. I mean, I think he averaged 35 yards per return on punt, which is ridiculous. But you got to protect that ball because in a close game, that's those type of things that'll come back and be the difference. Defensively, the front line, man, those guys were finishing plays, getting in the backfield. We can talk about the level of talent they were facing, but it's still the ACC. I mean, everybody wants to dog the ACC, but X was talking about Oklahoma and Arkansas State in the green room before the game. Virginia is better than Arkansas State.
Way better.
And, that's if we played Arkansas State, we'd put up the numbers that Oklahoma was putting up. It's not even in the same comparison. So I think overall, I'd grade it out as like an A, maybe an A plus. You knew what you had to do and you took care of business. And aside from Omari Thomas and Squirrel, I don't think anybody else was dinged up. Hopefully they're not too bad. It didn't appear that way. So you come out of week 1 back down the road from Nashville with a W, and you get to work on correcting some of those things that you need to work on.
We always feel like we have to validate ourselves, right? It's like we can't say anything because somebody's going to always respond in the chat or in the comments. It's like, yeah, it was Virginia. But how many times in previous years, right, in history, do we see off-season chatter, off-season talk about this guy or that guy or the front seven or the defensive line? They look good. They look this. They look that. And then you get out there on the field, and you come out of the game disappointed, right? It's like if today the defensive line hadn't gone out and done what they did, we would be criticizing that. And yes, I understand it's Virginia, but guess what? They still took care of business, and we don't have to sit here and question that defensive line after week 1. Now, will we when they go down to the Swamp in a couple of weeks? Maybe. Will we when they play Georgia or Alabama? Possibly. I get it. It's Virginia, but at the same time, that defensive line, Coach Jay talked a lot about him. Omar Norman-Lott, a dude, an absolute dude. Omari Thomas till he got banged up. James Pierce had 2 sacks. Tyler Barron had 2 sacks. Roman Harrison was living in the backfield the entire day, the entire night. I don't have the final numbers at the end of the game, but in the first half, Tennessee held Virginia to -8 rushing yards and had 8 tackles for loss. That's Xbox numbers. That's video game numbers. And then at the end of the day, Virginia had 202 total yards, 106 through the air, 96 rushing. I think, you really saw what we've talked about, right? It's no longer speculation. Now we've seen it on the field of play. Coach, this front seven, the way that they played, made the secondary look a little bit better. And Kamal Hadden was in really good position several times today. Just please turn your head around when you make the plays. He had a couple of really nice pass breakups. Turn your head around. But how are we seeing that, Coach, with the way the front seven played, how much better that back end looked on top of it? Again, 100 yards through the air.
I thought the screws were a heck of a lot tighter than last year. And yeah, it's Virginia. And, they had the one big receiver who, I thought he looked really good. I thought that kid looked big and athletic and strong. And we got in between him and a lot of balls. I thought the linebackers, Peely and Beasley, both looked really good in their wall loss, were elite against the flats and the slants. Could have been a little better at closing into the checkoff down to the running backs. But overall, I'm as pleased as pie as the way the secondary played. Thought the safeties came up and supported and run nicely when they needed to. And I thought they didn't take a lot of shots downfield because, quite frankly, a lot of those shots downfield weren't open, and if they were going to be open, the defensive line with not a lot of blitzing got home. So the underneath stuff wasn't open, and then the D line got home. So the over the top stuff didn't have time to develop. And not only that, it was tight on the back end. I always want to watch things twice before making a final decision. But at least on its, on its face, that's the way it looked like to me. So I was super encouraged by the secondary. Yeah, that's not going to be your true test. But I also think Virginia played well. I thought they played inspired football after going through a tragedy. I thought they really played hard and with a lot of intention, and played hard for each other, played hard for that guy next to you that we always talk about in football. They were just going up against a bigger and badder team today. But I tip my cap to Mr. Monmouth and how hard he played, and the rest of the Virginia. I thought Virginia's defensive line was low center of gravity and hard to move. And I know I'm kind of jumping the gun because you talked to me about the secondary. But I thought Campbell looked good, and I thought the other tackle position with God, why is his name escaping me right now? Didn't look good. Basically, is the long side of that.
How about John Campbell finishing the block up the tunnel on the one
Yeah,
touchdown?
Campbell looked great. It was the other side of the field at the tackle position. I even thought, Crawford. I thought Carrick looked better than Crawford looked in that game. Nothing.
Let me jam through some super chats real quick. Get everybody caught up here.
Crawford.
T-Birds Sign Shop becomes a member of the channel. We appreciate that support. Diane Riley also becomes a member of the channel. Guys, if you're hanging out, if you like the content, you like the streams, you want to support what we're building around here, you can hit that join button down below. It's as little as $1 a month. If you want to give a little bit more, you can. We also did a tailgate show an hour before kickoff. You guys, the members of the channel, have a chance to come on those tailgate shows, but also tomorrow night, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to do a fan call-in show. That's where you guys drive the entire show, and that is for the members of the channel. We have a catchphrase around here: for the fans, by the fans. That means something. We guys want you to have a voice. You are this platform. You are this community. You can be a part of that by hitting the join button down below. But thank you, Diane. We appreciate that support. Pit Boss for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Says Dorothy saw a lot of good and a lot of work to do, but a win's a win. GBO, somebody was messaging me during the game and said, man, we're spoiled. We're spoiled. It's like 28-3, and people aren't satisfied. People are complaining. It's a good problem, but it's you got things to clean up. It's week 1. I agree with you, Pit Boss. Thank you for the super chat. Parker Townsend for $5. Do you think Haddon not turning around is more of a Martinez thing? A lot of people say that. I don't get it. I don't understand, because it's very common, Dauber. We've seen it time and time again. This time around with Martinez, previous tenures with Martinez. Surely the guy you don't coach, don't look back for the football.
I mean, that's you got to find the football. I don't know any other way around it. That's excuse me. That's why you see a lot of those passes kind of go through their flailing hands right into the receiver, because they're not turned around looking for the ball.
And again, hadn't made a couple of nice plays, just wasn't turned around. J Hud for 5, thank you for the super chat. We had so many struggle wins week 1 in the past. App State game was in my memories today. This game wasn't that, so I got no complaints. Exactly. If you go out, you don't play exactly clean football, and you make some mistakes, but you still put away your opponent like Tennessee did today. That's a good thing. Will Murley for 10. Starters looked great, got pressure, made plays on the back end, and flew to the ball. Offense got off to a slow start. We can't do that in SEC play, but it's week 1. We will get that cleaned up. Exactly, Will. Thank you for the $10, brother. Appreciate that. Chandler Matthews for 10. Don't want to hear any more about the O-line being a question. They were dominant and physical. Great job. Keep it up. Something we talked about going into this football game was that Virginia's strength was their defensive line, their linebackers, their front seven. So to see Tennessee go out, be physical, dominate, run the football, almost 300 yards on the ground, you got to be happy. You got to be satisfied with the offensive line play.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then like we all, are talking about, like I said, there were a few, miscues, here and there that you got to clean up, going into week 2 to play, Austin Peay and stuff. But yeah, I mean, overall, you have to be happy for what you've seen. I mean, this is obviously a step forward on how we're just able to get better. So, but yeah, I mean, you got to be happy. So I'm pretty excited for what I saw today.
There's still
third downs were a problem.
Yes.
5 of 13 on third down efficiency. You got to extend drives more than that. That you pick up and convert those third downs. That doesn't put you in a spot like Heupel gambled for early in the game.
Pissed me off.
What is the point of that? What is the point of that decision?
Line up and play football.
So we're going to talk about it. What is the point of that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it shows confidence in your defense.
The first one, 4th and 4 down there in the red zone, 100% okay with it. 4th and 1 from your own 29.
That was a head scratcher. But the defense held strong on that and held them to a field goal attempt that they missed. So I guess you can say no harm, no foul. But wow, that was I didn't know what to think about that.
I know what to think. I know what to think about it. I thought I'm going to throw something at the TV because I was pissed, Dauber. I was hot, dude. I played for a coach who, and we talked about during the Edris Farouk video, Boogie. I played for a coach who literally didn't lose a game for something I think it was all 4 years of high school when he played, all 4 years of college, and then he was part of the Concord de La Salle streak coaching staff that won 12 years in a row without losing a game. And he would always say, just play the game. Line up and play football. Do what's right and line up and play football. You don't got to do anything extra. Just line up and play football the way you're supposed to do it. And every week I'm throwing crap at the TV because coaches won't let their kids line up and play football the way you're supposed to play. I get that it was Virginia. I get we were trying to prove a point. But punt the damn ball. God, that pissed me off.
But yeah,
awful.
I'm just. I mean, should I dare say it? I mean, I'll go. Actually, I'll go ahead and say it. That was almost like a Butch. That was a Butch Jones call.
It was stupid. And I love Heupel.
Should I kick X off the show? Should I kick Xavier off the show right now? How dare you? First of all, hold on a second. First of all, Wednesday we ask X. The question from the chat is, what player would you want to see in Josh Heupel's offense? You know what his answer was? Butch Jones. He wants Butch Jones in his band uniform out there playing football in Heupel's offense. Now that he's comparing Heupel to Butch. Come on.
No, I'm not comparing him. No, I'm not comparing the man to the other coach. I'm saying that play call was a Butch Jones call that he wasn't.
Butch didn't gamble. He's
saying the play call, running the football.
He kicked the field goal against Oklahoma from the 2 instead of going for it.
Yeah,
that would have closed that game out.
This is what I agree with X on the play call, and Culberson says it right here. Why not run a sneak in that situation? We saw that. We saw that from But if you're going to threaten me and make me go for it, how about the quarterback sneak with Coach? You just mentioned it in the tailgate show. Tyree West in the backfield. You also got Spraggins back there as a fullback. That's a lot of meat pushing Joe Milton up through the center of the football field.
A whole lot.
That's what they lined up with at the goal line. That they had 2 defensive guys in the backfield behind Joe.
Yeah, I guess if you're going to run something in that 4th and 1 where we should have punted it, At least put West and them in the backfield.
Yeah, why not? Why not sneak it? All right, we still got some super chats. Let me catch up here. VFL Willie for 2. How about Joe Milton running the rock? I appreciate that $2. We're going to come back to that, VFL Willie. We're going to talk about Joe Milton and the way he ran the football today and some things that we liked about that. Chris Vanoy for $20. That is not cheap. We appreciate that super chat. Nothing to say, just a tip in the tip jar from Chris. So thank you for that. You guys know the rules around here. Somebody drops a 50 spot, we got a clip we're going to play, but we got a new one. We got a new one for 2023. If somebody drops a hundo, we're dropping a new clip on you guys tonight. But thank you, Chris, for the $20. That is very generous. Parker Townsend for 2. Special teams just didn't seem like true first game jitters. You know, you kind of said, you guys already talked about it. D. Williams kind of bounced back. The thing that frustrated me about Jackson Ross was all the hype he's been getting in the offseason about how great he is and how he can kick with both feet. Well, I don't care. If you got 16-yard punts coming out of your left foot, that's a problem. We'll see.
Right. Yeah. You know, I talk crap about Heupel right now, but maybe he'd been watching his punter punt all off season. And that's
so. Yeah, I have questions about our punter. I really, really do. I mean, field goal, like I said, look, field goals all day, pretty solid. But yeah, punts, I question that.
He did have a nice one down there to the one. They almost pinned it on the one. Of course, it ended up a touchback, but 16 yards is all I'm thinking about. Noah James for 2. The front four looked really good today as well. Mm-hmm. Yep, thank you for that, Noah. Dan Yoder for 5. Wright was a spark plug today. Want Momo give Jalen the ball. We're going to talk about that in just a second as well. Dan, thank you for the super chat. Knoxville Predator catcher for 5. Butch play calls, run, pass, punt. Not go for it on 4th down, but if he had to, I'm sure he would run a quarterback or a dive play that goes for absolutely nothing. KD Corley for $10. Thank you for the super chat. That is not cheap. It's finally football time in Tennessee again. GBO. Thank you, KD. We appreciate that super chat. I want to talk about these running backs. I want to talk about Dylan Sampson. What?
Sidebar.
Me off. Yeah, we're going to take me to left field here.
While we were just finishing up special teams, one other thing on that.
This better be really good.
The kickoffs out of bounds.
Yeah, I had that in the miscues too.
Yeah. You know, punting and kicking, I think could be an issue. You get in a tight game and you're not doing either of those efficiently and effectively, it's going to be problems. Let's
talk about these running backs again. Almost 300 yards on the ground. Now, let me stir the pot here. Let me create a little drama because X said it earlier. Everybody in the chat is in agreement. Everybody's talking about Dylan Sampson and how elite he looked. And I get it. He had fantasy football numbers. You got Dylan Sampson on your fantasy team this week, man, you're dancing a little jig because 3 touchdowns on the ground, also added a touchdown receiving. Jalen Wright is hands down, far and away, not even close, the best running back on this football team. 12 carries, 115 yards, averaged almost 10 yards per carry. Jabari Small, 13 carries, 67 yards, averaged 5.2 yards per carry. Dylan Sampson looked great, 13 carries, 52 yards, but he averaged 4 yards per carry. What do you guys think about the running back room, Dauber? I think it's hands down Jalen Wright is that dude. But he, something I would criticize. And I get it. They're going fast. They're running a lot of plays. He was sucking wind a couple of times, and that's why you saw him come out, and Dylan Sampson came in, kind of capitalized on that and punched it in the end zone.
I don't think any of those guys are worried about their own statistics.
No.
That's the thing that's the thing that I think is key to this running back room. They're all like, whatever, you hand me the rock, I'm going to do my job and get it done. I'm going to tap my head and I'm going to come out if I'm not going to be effective and let one of these other guys do it. And I think Dylan Sampson benefited from the hard work of Wright and Small, toting the rock down there and picked up a couple of, shorter runs for TDs. So statistically, I think he got, those numbers based off of some other people's hard work. Not saying that he couldn't put in the work himself. I think all 3 of those guys have skills and are huge assets and, just additions to the myriad of skill players on the offensive side of the ball. So
Yeah, Culbertson says right there, showed early on the first drive. Jalen Wright came in, 3 carries, 23 yards, 2 catches, 27 yards, right down the field. Then he's sucking wind and tapping that head. Coach, what do you think about the running backs? And again, it's a good problem. I think they said on the broadcast 40-40-20 is how they want to split these carries. You think Dylan Sampson's the third best on the team, or would you bump him up a little bit? And they talk about going with a hot hand too. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, and we got to start talking about it. And if we're, Wright looked great and tapping his head. Yeah, it killed a little bit of momentum there on the drive for a second. But, the first time you get in live bullets and you run 4 or 5 game plays, real game plays as hard as you can, you ain't worked like that even in the off season yet, I promise you. And everyone's sucking a little bit of gas on that first series. I'll tell you this, though. The one thing about Sampson, his touchdowns are impressive. He ran hard and all that's great, but he looked good in pass protection today.
Yes.
And that's what I was looking for out of Sampson. If Sampson can play great in pass protection, there's going to be games where he gets those big bust opens and runs for a lot of yards as well. So I think it's a great, like you said, problem to have. I think it's a 3-headed monster, no doubt about it. And I'm excited about it. Yeah, Ollie Lane played good. I thought he had 1 or 2 mistakes early, but kind of was able to shake them off. And it kind of happened in that period after the first 2 or 3 drives. There was kind of that 3 or 4 drives where we were just really, really out of rhythm and out of sync. And maybe Ollie was a little out of sync there, but you could say it for the whole offense in that situation.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like Wesley says in this super chat getting ready to come up. Yeah, I feel like we should have ran the ball a little bit more when we first should have came out. Like, I understand that we had to kind of air it out just to kind of see where Joe's at, like saying with his arm strength and everything. But yeah, I mean, it from the last end of the game was just run the ball. I mean, they just could not just stop us just running the ball. But I mean, overall though, I mean, yeah, we do have a 3-headed monster in our running backs, like I said, and I love Jabari Small, I really do. But like what I said just earlier, Dylan Sampson and Jalen Wright's definitely gonna be your 1-2 punch. And like I was saying all off season, Jalen Wright, tweeting at the front office saying, "Hey, give me a bigger NIL deal. If not, I'm gonna hit the portal, go somewhere else." And sure enough, I mean, he's definitely putting his mouth, putting the money where his mouth is. So, and from what I've seen today is that, yeah, he's definitely proven that, yeah, he said, I deserve this. So, but overall, I mean, they're both going to be pretty good weapons for us to use. But so overall, I'm pretty excited for all 3 of them.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just speaking for me, but just in the chat real quick, addressing a comment. I don't think any of us are trying to crap on Small. I think Small played a hell of a game. I just think our running back room is that rich right now that the weight of their gold is kind of outweighing Small a little bit. Small is a weapon. No 2 ways about it, in my opinion. Go ahead, Boogie. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say the narrative about not running in the first half. What kind of happened there? Joe, and we're going to talk about Joe coming up here in just a second. Don't worry about that. But Joe really overall was pretty efficient and pretty good. But when Tennessee kind of, if you want to form the narrative that they didn't really run the football early in the first half, they ran it down Virginia's throat first drive. Second drive is when they came out, and it was Jabari Small, and it was run for 4, run for 1, and then it was a check down to Small for 4. You got 4th and 1. That's when they get stuffed, right? So there's a 3 and out where you ran the ball 3 out of the 4 plays. And then the third drive, man, that's when you had the deep ball to Ramel Keaton. That should be a touchdown. It's hard to argue, well, we should have ran the football when you've got Ramel Keaton, running wide open down the field.
Running wide open.
And then you ran it after that. You had a bad throw to Brew McCoy on 3rd and 7. It was kind of in traffic. That's where they talked about he didn't really look the safety off. It could have really been picked off. And then you come back to the 4th drive, and that's where Joe really struggled. That was Joe's worst drive, I think, was that fourth drive.
That was a false start drive.
You're right. I'm mixing up the 4th and the 5th. The 4th is when you had 2nd and 2, and you had the deep ball. If he throws it a foot to the left, it's a touchdown to Thornton. It's a touchdown. Yeah. So again, we're talking about a deep ball to Keaton that was dropped. You're talking about a deep ball to Thornton that could have been a touchdown. Then, like Dauber pointed out, you had the false start. Milton got sacked. And then it was the next drive where you had a low throw to Squirrel. You had a high throw to McCoy. You overthrew Ramel Keaton. And that kind of got Tennessee off track in that first half. So I don't know that it's necessarily that they weren't committed to the run game. You had some stuff dialed up, Dauber, and it just didn't work out. You had drops, overthrows, different things that factored in. Then you kind of got back to your bread and butter, and that's running the football and Tennessee cruised through the second half.
Yeah, and that's some of those things you hope you go into week 2 and clean up. It's execution.
And it's football.
I think the play calls were there and they just weren't executed. You clean up that false start and you're not backed up into a 3rd and long where you have to throw and you get sacked. Those 3 throws, I wasn't for sure. I thought that the one that it looked like he skipped, I wasn't for sure that a hand didn't get on it at the line of scrimmage. But then you had 2 high ones. And listen, we talked about this last year. And I know people, overthrow Joe. He's got to get the ball down, accuracy. Hendon Hooker missed throws high too. It's not a Joe Milton thing. It's an every quarterback thing. And I know we want to see, especially when you're a little bubble screen to a wide receiver, nobody's on him. You got to hit him between the numbers. Don't throw it 4 feet over his head. But it's those things. Like you said, Boogie, I think Milton was efficient. And I think Hendon Hooker showed that you don't have to take over a game and go wild. I think you just have to be efficient and execute the game plan that these coaches put forward, and you're going to put points on the board. And more times than not, you're averaging, nearly 50 points a game. You're going to come out with the W.
Yeah, I mean, if you're upset about the way Joe Milton played, Tennessee scored 50 points, and that's in a shortened game. I think you're cut a couple of series short with the way the game played out, and also you had your backups in most of the fourth quarter. Let me jam through a bunch of super chats here. Wade Rouse for 10, appreciate that super chat, brother. First game, got a lot to clean up. Didn't get to watch much of it because I am at work, but defense looked good from what I watched. Running backs look good. O-line will get a lot better when Cooper comes back. GBO, yeah, I mean that's the thing. They look good with Cooper being out. But thank you, Wade, for the super chat. Wesley Page for 5. We should have ran the ball more in the first quarter and first half. That's the one that X touched on earlier. Thank you, Wesley, for the super chat. JD Maxwell for 5. Man, this is already fun. Can't wait till we get to beat Bama to stay undefeated again this year. Boogie better start taking Bear now. Is that like headache powder or something? Am I going to have a headache? The only headache I had last year's Bama game was listening to Dauber slur his words. But we're back cruising full steam ahead. Wade Rouse for 5. Not saying the O-line played bad, just will get even better with Cooper back. I agree with that too, Wade. Look, he's the anchor of that offensive line. Noah James for 2. The crowd was chanting Nico. That was awesome. Thank you for the super chat. I love seeing Joe dance to that. I like, because like one of you guys mentioned about the running backs, Dauber, I guess it was you. It's the same thing with Joe. When Nico's in the game, Joe wants to see Nico have success. You can see that. You can see it. That's what building that culture and that family atmosphere really looks like. BS Osborne for 5. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Overall, I am pleased with this first game. We will find out more about our Vols against Florida on the road. So let's take the fight to the SEC. Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Appreciate the super chat. I'm about to cough. Coach, let me ask you something. We talked about some sloppy play, right, at times. And again, I had, it's so hard when you're making notes during the game and it's like, it's the second quarter. It's like, well, calm down.
A lot of them.
Because early in the game, I'm like, okay, you got to clean up the false starts. You got to clean up, Joe Milton taking the sack, but I think they did clean it up. And to Dauber's point, they played pretty clean as far as penalties go. I have the 4th and 1 in here. I have the fumble from D. Williams. The sloppy play that we saw in this game. And again, we're talking about a game that Tennessee won 49-13. How much of that stuff can you clean up from week 1 to week 2? I know Wayne said in the chat earlier, that's when, all the experts and insiders say you make the most improvement between week 1 and week 2. How much of that stuff that was sloppy today can you clean up?
I think a lot of it. Gosh, you hate to put a number on it, but 70%, I think you can clean up generally. It's hard to say, but as far as first games go, it wasn't that bad. The first half was a bit sloppy, as we talked about, but as far as first games go, it wasn't that sloppy. I'm sure any Florida Gator fan out there watching would gladly have traded places with how sloppy Tennessee was as to how sloppy someone like Florida was in week 1. And you see it all over every game, at least every game that I've been watching, just a lot of slop. Circling back to Milton, I thought he looked good. A lot of throws on time. After the drop pass by Keaton, I thought he tried to force a slant in against 3 defenders that was a little bit behind. I thought that was rough. I thought he had one other mistake that could have been a pick against a little more talented of a linebacking core, and that was a little flat ball that a linebacker almost stepped in front of.
Got his hands on.
Yeah, got his hands on it. Yeah, that got a little bit jumped. He telegraphed that throw a little and checked to it a little late on top of telegraphing it. But really, for the most part, 3, 4 passes that were, not up to snuff. That's not bad at all for Joe. And if we were hoping to see a Pittsburgh or Ole Miss Joe or one of those bad Joes, if people were rooting for that, they didn't get that today. They didn't get that for a second. I think they got somewhere, somewhere in between Vandy and Orange Bowl Joe. And we had some drops in there. If we don't have that drop ball to Keaton, we're talking about a mid-50s to 10 to 9 game, something like that. So not bad at all.
I about to say my quick take on Joe real quick is this is the biggest take of them all, was that we talked about it, before this game even started. He stayed in the pocket, yes, but he escaped. And that was the biggest takeaway for me, because we talked how he liked to just stay in the pocket, wait for plays to develop and stuff. No, as soon as he realized, he got sacked, a couple of times, but there were times too where he read the play, or he knew the pressure was coming, and he just ran, because like Boogie said earlier, made that poor linebacker like a rag doll. Just stuffed him down and just kept on trucking. That's
beautiful
the Joe
speed option.
Yes,
beautiful
exactly.
speed option too.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
what I liked about that though, while we're talking about the speed option, was they were having so much success with the read option. And Joe was making the right reads all night long. And then finally, the commentary team even talks about it, that they're bringing the safety down because they have to keep a guy there to keep Joe in check and make Joe give the ball off to the running back. So what do the very next play? They run the dang speed option to the opposite side, and you walk in for a touchdown. Beautiful play call, man. Beautiful play call.
Yep. Exactly. And that's the more that I want to see Joe of, is just utilize his feet. Because we, Brad was saying he's not like Hendon Hooker. He's not, elusive and make plays. Like, no, from that play alone, from what I've seen, no, that was a pretty dang good play. So hopefully we'll see a whole lot more of that, like saying this coming season. So, but yeah, that was just one of my real big takes from Joe, was that, like I said, he made plays with his feet, and that's really positive to see coming from Joe.
If I'm hypo, I may be giving Tony V a call and get some sliding lessons for Joe, though. He looked a little bit awkward on a couple of those when he went down. I guess maybe he's such a big dude, though. It's, I guess, kind of hard to slide properly.
And I think I might have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Coach.
I was going to say, and I think I jinxed us a little, making fun of Florida's little inside shovel pass last week, because our shovel pass did not look good either. My apologies on that one, guys. That was ugly. I was like, son of a gun. I jinxed us there. And another nice play, and it was there all day. I commented on it earlier. Warren over the middle was sitting open 3 or 4 or 5 times. And I don't know why I didn't throw it, other than we were just trying to save it maybe. But it was there all day, and I know they scored the one time.
That was a dot, too. That throw from Milton on that play was a dot. Do you think that Milton looks quicker this year? Like, Milton's got speed, top end speed. Like, once he gets going, we saw it in a couple of spring games ago when he had the long touchdown run. Today he had a run where once he gets up to speed, it's like, man, he's got some speed. I thought he looked a little quicker. Xavier saying that he was leaving the pocket when he needed to. He only had 1 sack. I went back and looked. He had 1 sack. He looked quicker, and I know he leaned out a little bit. He dropped a little bit of weight.
I think it was because he made smart decisions. It wasn't just bail out, I'm running. It was, okay, my receivers are covered.
Pocket awareness.
I've got a lane. I'm taking this right now because I can pick up, 5, 10. I think his long was a 17-yard scramble that he had, and it was just, to me, it was very mentally aware of the situation, and it was well-timed runs that he had. It wasn't panic. I'm just, running for my life. It was, okay, all right, that's not working. That's not open. All right, I've got a lane. I'm gone. And
that goes to the people that say that, oh, it's just a one-read offense too. Joe Milton went through some progressions today. And then the little swing pass to Dylan Sampson for the touchdown was nice. I thought he made good decisions. Me and Coach both talked about the same play over the middle. If you look the safety off, maybe it goes a little bit better, but that was a throw into coverage. But overall, I felt like he made good decisions. He protected the football well. I'm happy with the way Joe played. And if you were on social media in the first half, you would think that it was awful and it was a train wreck. But Joe played good. He can play better, but he played good.
And most importantly, no interceptions. I mean, yeah, he came close to it just a little bit, like what Coach said about that play earlier. Like I said, near the first down, but no interceptions today.
The throw to Brew, where he was just barely out of bounds, was an elite NFL throw. No two ways about it. And just a hair away, really, just a hair away. Brew is a beast, by the way. I felt like we kept that gun in our holster a little bit this week, but I think you'll get a heavy dose of them in Florida.
I think that could be the case across all of the wide receivers. And guys, I see the super chats coming in. We appreciate that support. I'm going to get to those in just a second. But when you look across the board at the wide receiver position, of course, the Squirrel got the hot hand there. He had like 3-4 receptions in a row. But Ramel Keaton, 3 catches. Brew McCoy, 2 catches. McAllen Castles, a catch. Dante Thornton, 2 catches. Jacob Warren. Caleb Webb had a couple of catches. It's good that they're spreading the football around, but I think the word that we've thrown around a lot, vanilla. I think it was a very vanilla, and you didn't see a whole lot of what this offense can do. I think they took a couple of shots, but not as many as we're used to seeing. And that's good. That's good to come out of week 1, 49-13 and still have a little something up your sleeve. But, like the Milton stuff, I like that they show the read option. Show them a little something that's got to make you stay honest, and then that will let me set you up. Like Dauber said Wednesday, Josh Heupel's always playing 3D chess. Like he is setting you up, play 3, 4, 5, 6 plays ahead of time. So he's given, Florida a little something to look for. UTSA that everybody's worried about, a little something to look for. Let me catch up on Super Chats. We got a bunch of them. You guys being very generous tonight. We appreciate that support. Knoxville Predator catcher for $10. Milton looked completely different than his first year, much more accurate. He hit a very tight window at the end of the game too. And, that's something that we've been talking about. And I'm glad we finally have something to go on versus just speculation. And it's the comment from Hubs, man, where Milton was in the offense for 3 to 4 months the last time he was a starter. Now he's been here for 3 years, so it's good to see that development. And I hope we continue to see it. It's just more confirmation, right? And now we're just going to make excuses. It was just Virginia. Next week, it's just Austin Peay. And then we're going to go on the road to the swamp. Well, Florida's not very good. And
Florida's
it's always excuse after excuse after excuse. Sometime eventually we're going to have to buy into Joe Milton. But thank you, Knoxville Predator catcher. Big Orange Mountain for 5. Encouraged Joe only made 1 true bad decision all game. All great teams have some deep drops and team errors. Hopefully they are over with. GBO. I agree with that. And like Dauber said earlier, Hendon Hooker made mistakes. Hendon Hooker overthrew guys. It's college football. Nobody's going out there playing perfect. Wesley Page for 2. How about that defense? Great effort. PlayStation numbers, boys. PlayStation numbers today.
Solid.
Got another super chat from Culberson for 5. What do you think the scores would be? UT versus Utah and Florida versus Virginia. I think UT beats Utah, and I think Florida beats Virginia, but it's a little bit closer than today's game. What do you guys think?
Same here.
I'll agree with that. I would say, a Tennessee-Utah game would be probably, 30-something to 20-17, something like that.
With those quarterbacks, they would have struggled.
I think Florida and UVA. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I'll just go ahead and say it. I hope Virginia would beat Florida.
I don't know if they would though. I don't know.
I don't think they would, but I'm just saying. But the way that they kind of played today, like Coach said earlier, they played pretty well. So honestly, I wouldn't have no doubt that they probably could go and compete against Florida.
Based on what I saw from Florida, I think that might be a tight game.
They played bad. There's no 2 ways about it. Florida played really, really bad game, and it could have been tight. Florida couldn't run the dang ball. That offensive line looked absolutely terrible, and that plays into Virginia's strength. So who knows? I'd like to think Florida's defense could shut them down, but as bad as they played, I don't know. Who knows? Utah without Cam Rising, I think the Vols personally would woodshed them, but uh, hard saying. Utah's they're just so banged up. Yeah, I think Tennessee smokes them. If they're healthy, it's a different story. Maybe it's a game then.
Wesley Page for 2. Thank you for the super chat. D-line looked really good for most of the game. I agree with that. J-Vol 89 for 5. We got a Nico sneak peek. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. We'll come back and talk a little bit about Nico here in just a little bit. Lee Minnick for 5. Thank you for the super chat. Real talk. Our success hinges on what happens between Joe's ears, and I'm hopeful, but I'm a longtime Tennessee fan. Joe just has to be efficient, man. And I know when you see the deep balls and they miss and it's so frustrating, we didn't see a whole lot of that. We didn't see a whole lot of that today. He had one really bad series. Outside of that, Joe played good football. Thank you, Lee, for the super chat. Chris Overman for 5. Jacob Warren touchdown. Money. I loved it. I love seeing Jacob Warren out there making plays. That ball was on a dime, just picture perfect bullet. Bob King for 5. Thank you for the super chat. My concern rose when they kept getting through the left side of the line. Secondary pick it up, but we need to get a little tighter there. Now, I'm going to put you guys on the spot, and you may not know because I don't know. I was looking at the VolQuest in-game thread, and somebody, just random person in the chat, so who knows, take it for what it's worth, said that David Hobbs was in the game at that time and that Arian Carter was in the game at that time. I did not see that or recognize that, but the very next series, I do know that Beasley was back out there, and you also had Elijah Herring was running side by side with him. 3 and out very next series. So maybe they did have some of the young guys out for that or out there, and that's fine. You give up a touchdown and it's like, man, why is this happening? They're just running it down our throats. Hype will do something, call timeout, put the starters back in. No, let those guys grow and learn because the game's over at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, go ahead, Dauber.
I was going to say that's a case of some young guys getting some reps and adjusting to the speed of college football. A lot of these guys coming in, even though they're elite kids coming in, they were the guys that were the best athlete on the field in a lot of their high school games. Now they're playing against guys, same caliber or even a little bit better. And so they are challenged a little bit more, but they've got to get up to speed. That's the only way you learn. I think, Coach Jay's talked about practice is so different than getting out there in an actual game. So it's just one of those things. The game was well out of hand. I think, everybody's, we want to hold them under 10 points. We want to do this. We want to do that. Shut out. It doesn't matter.
I want this football team to get better is what I want.
Yes. Yeah. And you get better by playing.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And this was first game jitters for some of those young guys too. Get those jitters out because we can always say that, they were a beast in practice and this and that. But like I said, when the lights are on you and it's game time, you're playing in front of thousands of people, it hits a little different. It really does. But yeah, this is just a way for the young guys just to grow and just to get better.
And they need to learn those lessons. They talk about Hobbs, for instance. Hobbs was doing, and we talk about it all the time, right, Boogie? Hobbs was riding that guard's hip when he was pulling, right? But what he wasn't doing was he didn't practice good hand discipline, and he was getting turned too much and then getting kicked out by the following down block after the pull. So following the guard, tackle down blocking right into him, right? He didn't keep good hand discipline. He didn't keep his hips level, and he was getting turned. And so he was getting pulled through that. Arian, when he came out, I think was a little too excited, too up. And when linebackers get like that, specifically young linebackers and early, they can play a little flat. And I thought Arian, when he first came in, was playing a little flat. It's why you saw that missed tackle and a couple missed tackles during that drive. They were playing a little flat and behind the ball. I thought when Arian came back at the end at one of those last drives, he kind of settled down and you saw him make 2 plays. He had that one stuff on 3rd and short that set him up to punt. And then a play, I think it was on 1st down in that series as well when he had a tackle. So yeah, they just need to learn those lessons, man. If you don't play clean ball, if you go in there and you play high school ball, it ain't good enough anymore, man. Yeah. It's not good enough. Coach is going to be in your ear and he's going to tell you, you see, that didn't work, and you'll learn, you'll pick up and you'll move on. But you guys are right. They need that time. They got to learn. They need those live bullets flying at their face to understand if you don't put your head down below that wall, you're going to get shot in your damn head. I said, keep it down.
This is where it's not just your athletic ability; it's technique. Because the guy lining up across from you is now just as good as you are. So you've got to be, mentally and not just physically better. You got to be mentally better and know, if like you just explained, if I'm riding that guard out, that's what they're wanting me to do, so they can seal me off.
Yep.
And
exactly.
it's one of those things. You've got to be disciplined and not, it's like in kick and punt coverage. You stay in your lane. You're not just running all the field wide open trying to. You have a job to do on the field. Do your job, and the person beside you does their job, and then that's how you're successful.
And again, do you want the score to be 49-6, or do you want the score to be 49-13? And David Hobbs is going to have a whole lot of film for Rodney Garner to eat him alive, and I can't wait for it, because how much better? Again, we're talking about true freshmen, guys. We're not talking about juniors. We're talking about true freshmen out there getting those valuable in-game reps. Let me hit a couple of super chats real quick. Dim Barnyard Builds for 2. Thank you for the super chat. Dylan Sampson lived in the end zone. Yeah, you love to see it. Like I said, you want him on your fantasy team this week. Dylan Sampson putting up those points. James Moody in the house, dropping a 50 spot. You guys know what we got to do. You drop a 50, we're going to play this clip right here.
Money isn't everything. It's the only thing. And everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
Also got a new clip for those $100 super chats in 2023. You guys dropping the big money blows my mind, but we greatly appreciate it. James for $50 says, do you think they need to move Sampson ahead of Small? And I love the fact that we saw so much we can be better at and still beat the spread. GBO. Yeah, exactly.
Same rotation.
So many things to clean up. We were kind of talking about that towards the beginning of the show, James. They mentioned on the broadcast they want to go 40-40-20, 40% Jalen Wright, 40% Jabari Small, 20% Dylan Sampson. As of right now, I'm still okay with that. And I get it. I like Dylan Sampson, but again, you go by yards per carry. He was 3rd on the team in yards per carry, 4th if you count Nico's little 8-yard run there. But I don't have a problem with the rotation right now. The only thing that I will fight you on is that Jalen Wright deserves to be at the top of that list. Jalen Wright needs to be running back number 1. He needs to be that first guy out there on the field. Like we said in the conversation earlier, it's a good problem to have those 3 really good running backs. And Cam Seldon, very limited time. He's only going to continue to get better as well. Guys, we got over 650 people watching live right now. Appreciate you guys tuning in, choosing us for the post-game show. When there's other options out there, this is the place to be. We appreciate your support. Do us a favor, though. Quick, free, and easy, smash the thumbs up just below the video. You guys know that deal. Also, help us out. Hit share. If you see us tweet out that we're going live, tweet out a video. Make sure that you retweet that, or you can hit the share button down below. It helps grow the channel. We appreciate the way that you guys support us. And also, go check out the merch. You can go to bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. Get ready for that Georgia game. There's no better merch to wear than a shirt that says FUGA. They tell me that spells Fuga. I don't know, but it's in the merch store at bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. We've also got Gator Hater. We got Buck Famine merch. There's a big, huge election coming up in 2024. And we don't always get political around here, but sometimes you need to. There's only one vote in 2024, and that is Boogie and Dauber, for the fans, by the fans, endorsed by the Talkin VAWLS Network. We've got Vols by 50 scoreboard shirts, all kinds of fun stuff. If you don't like the offensive material that somebody snuck on there, then you can buy the clean beat Bama, beat Florida, beat Georgia. But again, the links are all in the description. We appreciate you guys picking up the merch. I want to encourage you, if you pick up some merch, tag me in it. I want to see it on Twitter at Boogie Bentley. I'll retweet that thing. But we appreciate you guys rocking that Talkin VAWLS merch. Let's talk a little bit about Nico. Didn't get a whole lot of play today, but he did get a couple of series out there. I liked his pocket awareness out there for a true freshman. Coach, you've been in and around Nico. You're not surprised at all by the way he looked today. He's a freshman, but I think his future is bright. How about those Nico chants?
Yeah, early. I was in the chat. A couple of you were in there, and I was joking when Milton had a couple rhythm problems in that one second quarter kind of flow we were talking about earlier, and saying, oh, when's the Nico chance coming? But I was just messing, and had a feeling Joe would settle down, which he did instantly after starting off all right. But hey, listen, I thought Nico was Nico, which is good, right? That's what you want. Nico is calm. He's a gamer. He's very comfortable when he's in there at quarterback, and I think that's what you saw. He was very calm and comfortable. He went through his reads. His passes looked smooth and on time. I thought if Webb didn't run backwards, he would add a first down on that one series that stalled out. And I think everyone saw Nico's going to be elusive. He's very slippery. He's got a really, really long stride. And when he gets out in the open field, he's really, really fast. He comes from a very, very high level, advanced offensive system. Shout out to the Danny Hernandez offense out here in Southern California. He understands it really well. It's the same offense that Bryce was in and got him so ready so quickly at Bama. Same exact offense, and I think you saw shades of it. And what a luxury that we don't have to throw Nico out there like Bama did with Bryce first year, that he can have that year to learn in hype system. And we all know quarterbacks year number 2 in Heupel's system are a problem, and I'm looking forward to teams having to solve that problem.
To me, he did not appear to be a true freshman. He looked very poised, not panicked at all. And that's what I came away very impressed from, just seeing him out there and just kind of letting the game come to him. And the same thing could be said with Joe. Joe didn't panic in the pocket. He didn't just abandon his reads and just scramble. Nico didn't do that either. And for a true freshman to come in and do that, very impressive. What a exciting future that we have with a lot of these young guys in the program.
Yeah. And I just love the moment too, like saying where Joe actually, you know what I'm saying, after when he scored on that one, like I said, that one drive, he went over to Nico and he was just, just coaching him up, just saying like, hey, like this, look, just go out there and just have fun. And then it just also reminded me of the relationship he had with Hendon Hooker, you know what I'm saying, last season. So like what Boogie was saying earlier about the whole culture and just that family atmosphere that Josh Heupel's trying to build, you love seeing that kind of stuff, man. And then, like I said, it just gives Nico just more confident just to go out there and just be himself. And yeah, like what you said, Dauber, too. I was impressed with that too, because yeah, he didn't look like a true freshman just with jitters and being all nervous and stuff. No, he looked poised, calm, collected, and he was out there just having fun doing his thing.
I will say, and I think Rocky Top Tom in the chat there threw it out there. I'd like to see him put on a little bit more weight, and I think that'll come. Getting in the nutrition and the weight room. That'll come.
He's put some on already. I don't remember how much he has.
And I've said it in here before, and I'm telling you guys, I got to be around actually Tyler Bray a little bit when he was in high school, and I was younger, and he looked like you could break him in half. Even back then in high school, when I was next to Nico and shook his hand, I did not feel like I was next to Tyler Bray in any way. Like, even though he comes off skinny, he's kind of like a wiry boxer. He's strong. Like when you're next to him, he's I don't know how else. It's kind of hard to describe. He looks really thin, but it doesn't come off that way when you're standing right next to him.
Is that because
what
it's
I'm
height?
saying? It might be, yeah, but it's when you're standing right next to him. Like on TV, his arms almost look small too, but when you're right next to him, it seems like they're not. Like he's actually got some muscle on him, and I don't know what it is, but I was expecting that until I was standing right next to him in person. So just a little side note. And with that said, yeah, I still want to see some weight put on him a little bit more in the weight room.
It is the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're gonna need that. They're gonna
look at this picture. Look at this picture right here. Look at this picture.
Yeah. Oh no. Joe's an animal too.
Right, but he doesn't look that much smaller than Joe right there.
No, he doesn't.
Fair enough.
And Boogie, it also reminds me of that picture I did send you. Like I said, when me and my girlfriend were in Knoxville, we went to go grab some lunch at Raising Cane's. For, of course, people in the chat that don't know, we went down to Knoxville to eat, Raising Cane's for lunch, and then So as soon as we went to the car, we were turning left on Cumberland to get back onto the interstate to come back here. And I saw those two literally just standing on like the sidewalk, and I said, "Oh man." And yeah, I mean, they're just two just tall giants, dude. And I was just sitting here just like, and then like what Coach said, what you said with Nico, like I was expecting him to be kind of small, but then I just looked at him. I was like, no, I said he ain't
Yeah,
pretty
it doesn't
small.
come
So,
off like that, right? When you're right next to him.
no,
It's
yeah.
I'm about 6 foot right on the nose. And if any of you seen my profile picture, man, I look like just a little tyke next to next to Nico in that picture, man. I was like, man, I gotta put some risers in my shoes or something, man. I'm feeling small here, Nico. But yeah, no, hey man, I'm excited about Nico. There's just a lot of guys coaching that were around him that I've coached with and around that I trust implicitly. And then what I've seen with my eyes with Nico in front of him, I'm super excited. But we'll see more of him next week, I believe. And I do want to see us get much better week 1 to week 2, and I think we will.
Well, let's talk a little bit about next week. It's Austin Peay. It's a glorified scrimmage. Number one, we'll talk, and we'll get into it, but we'll talk about what you really want to see Tennessee improve on from week 1 to week 2. What you guys think of the commentary team making such a big deal? And it wasn't even about like Alabama, Kentucky. It was like they were so obsessed with going on the road to play Florida. I wonder why. Wink, wink. We know who was in the commentary booth. UTSA, they were circling Florida, UTSA, South Carolina, and Texas A&M like that was Murderers Row. I think Murderers Row starts with Texas A&M and then on the road with Alabama. And I'm not saying Kentucky's Murderers Row. I've already been yelled at and told I was an idiot for anything I've said about Kentucky. But I thought that was comical. Anyway, nonetheless.
Listen, anytime you go on the road in conference, it's going to be tough.
Especially after you have to play Texas A&M and on the road at Alabama, and Kentucky's on a bye the week before. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Tennessee loses.
How's Kentucky looking right now? I know they were struggling a little against the Cardinals
I
earlier.
think they walked away with it.
Okay,
yeah, they walked away with
it figures, but yeah. New quarterback, so it's going to take you a minute to get your feet under you with a new quarterback. He's in a new system.
44-14 was the final.
44-14.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and again too, that's what I'm saying. Like we haven't went into SEC play. So that's what I'm saying. Like just because like we put up big numbers today, Kentucky puts up big numbers and stuff. When it comes to true SEC play, I mean, we're really gonna see, okay, like are we really that team or is the other team better than us?
Yeah, true. Totally a side note, but one other thing, Jacob Warren, he was blocking his butt off today. I don't know if anyone else caught that. He had 2 flatbacks that were just beautiful, man. If anyone catches those on the rewatch, shout me out, because Warren just straight out flatbacked dude twice. It was awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like you said at the top of the show, it's so hard when you're watching live and it's like, all right, we're going live right after. I always like to watch the game at least a second time, sometimes 3 times. You like to read all the reports of who got how many snaps. I like the PFF grades. Have you dealt much with those? Some people hate them and don't think they're very accurate. Have you seen those Pro Football Focus?
I've seen them. They're cool. I just don't know how much weight you put on them.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I've seen them. I think it's a cool concept, no doubt.
I like seeing the number of snaps too. Like how many snaps did Arian Carter get? How many snaps did David Hobbs get? And then I always like to watch Heupel's presser, all that fun stuff. But Dauber, we're going into week 2. Austin Peay's on the schedule. It's a glorified scrimmage. What are you looking for next week? What does this team need to work on? What do they need to improve on? Little spoiler alert for Wednesday night show.
I mean, I think you look at cleaning up some of the special teams. To me, is what kind of stuck out and was an eyesore. You clean up the kickoffs out of bounds. You clean up the punting. You emphasize to D. Williams, protect the ball. You did good, young man. Had a heck of a game returning the punts, but you got to wrap it up. I'd rather have a 5-yard punt return or call for a fair catch than cough it up. That's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, going into Austin Peay, that is, like you said, a glorified scrimmage. Just you're working out the kinks before week 3 going on the road for the first, well, not the first time we were on the road today, but going on the road in conference.
Not really.
And it's going to be a hostile environment in Gainesville. And, we've talked about it. Is Cooper back? Will we have Mays back to anchor that offensive line? Hopefully he'll return this week and maybe get a couple series against Austin Peay, kind of get his game legs and get ready. And but what we saw today, I think the offensive line was efficient. I think they played well. I think they blocked well, pass protected well. Joe Milton was clean. I think you said 1 sack. I think that was just the pocket collapsed. That was more of a coverage sack, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think that was Joe's fault. I don't think.
So
they were dropping back into coverage a lot. They were dropping all their people.
And then I saw he was trying to move, but then it was already too late.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I think there are things to work on to clean up for next week, but really it's all about 2 weeks away. You're getting out all the cobwebs, and you've got the opening game jitters out of the way, and just make sure everybody's healed up and at full capacity, ready to go down to Gainesville.
Yeah, you think about that Florida game, saying it's going to be a hostile environment. Yes, they're already 0-1 on the season, but they got a cupcake coming up this week too. Their fan base is going to be desperate for a win against Tennessee, so it is going to be hostile. Coach, what do you want to see between now and next week against Austin Peay? Or you can skip ahead to Florida too.
I mean, we're still going to be eating a lot of vanilla ice cream next week, right? I just want a little more vanilla bean in my vanilla ice cream. little
maybe a little syrup on top.
Yeah, maybe just a little caramel, little magic hard shell, something, a little something on top of it. But yeah, no, just a clean game. And man, I am thankful that Mays didn't play on that coconut turf. Man, that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. But as far as Florida goes, hey, listen, it's a huge rivalry game. They're going to be ready. They need a win. Have they lost like 4 or 5 games in a row, Florida?
4.
Anyone know?
They're
4
one
games
loss
in a row
away from the most they've lost in a row since I think like 2017 or something like that.
Yeah, so Tennessee going into Gainesville with a true opportunity to snatch their heart straight out of their chest, all of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and send their ass down a cage into a pit of lava and be done with them for a couple of years. That's what I'm looking for. I want to go in there and bury them, but they're going to come out swinging. They're going to have a game plan. Sunbelt Billy's going to put together his game plan and all game plans because he's coaching to keep his butt off that hot seat. And they're going to play on fire. The fan base is going to be well lubricated. And we need to make sure we're sharp. We need to gain some momentum for Gainesville.
Well, I'm just gonna say is that saying Joe said he doesn't lose in Florida. So after those few comments, I definitely want to see it coming towards Florida. Like you said, he's got some things to clean up just a little bit, but like I said, overall, I mean, I think he played really pretty good today. And then some of the wide receivers, I feel like. I mean, you're going to drop a few passes here and there too, but I feel like they can clean those up as well. But like I said, man, overall, I think we played really, really good. And Austin Peay, like I said, is just a scrimmage game, just to kind of polish up on some things before you go down into Gainesville. Because I'm ready to get at some Gator throats when we go down to Gainesville.
Is Mertz more mobile than Musket? Maybe a little.
Maybe
I know I've
just a
seen
little
them
bit.
both, but yeah, I want to get your opinion. Yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit, but honestly, from that Utah game, from what I saw, I mean, like I said, the defensive line was just getting after him, and I was just kind of looking at that game, and it kind of reflected back to how we played, this game. So I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to just wait and see. So
how many sacks did Utah have? Did they have like 4 or 5 sacks in that game?
They did.
Yeah, they did. I mean,
Rodney Garner's got to be licking his chops. And
Yep.
I know Virginia's offensive line was bad. I get that. But maybe Florida's offensive line is bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
Maybe.
terrible.
Yeah, maybe.
Rally Point with a $5 super chat says, as bad as Virginia is, their defense is not a Mercer or Ball State level. This was a good defense for us to start the year against. Talked about that all week, right? How good Virginia's front seven was. And yeah, they didn't have their best defensive lineman, but still a pretty good defense with a lot of experience up front. In Tennessee, Jalen Wright averaged almost 10 yards a carry. A lot of success running the football, only gave up 1 sack. Got to be happy with the way this offensive line played. A lot of positives to take away, some things to clean up. Bottom line is Tennessee is 1-0 rolling into Austin Peay next week. Tons of content coming your way this week. Don't forget, bright and early. Look, these post-game shows, we go right from the screen to this screen, and we talk it and we break it down. I will be sleeping on it, thinking about it, and I will bring you the day after video, bright and early tomorrow. Make sure you guys tune in for that tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, fan call-in show. That's where every member of this channel is going to have an opportunity to come on the show, hang out, talk about Tennessee football, what your pros were, what your cons were. If you agree or disagree with something we said, you have an opportunity to talk about that on Sunday night. Monday morning, Eric Kane will be in the house at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Tuesday night, we're playing NCAA football. Wednesday night, we're live at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Friday morning, myself and Coach Jay will be live. It's a busy, busy week. Tons of content coming your way. Guys, help us out. We just hit 22,000 subscribers. Share out the links. Tell a friend, word of mouth. Let people know that Talkin VAWLS is the place to be for Tennessee football. But we're going to wrap this thing up. He's Coach Jay. He's Dauber. He's the X Factor. My name is Boogie Bentley. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. Go Big Orange.